There's a dynamic that happens in the studio, and the dynamic works this way. When a man walks in and I point towards the cans, called headphones, they just take it and they slip them on. When a lady walks in and I point to the can, she looks at me like, I'm going to mess up my hair. Take note of how Ms. Barat is wearing hers. You can slip it behind, put the hair over it. So that's the dynamic that just went on there for a moment. I pointed to the headphones and she looked like, do I really? My next guest, I had the privilege of meeting her, and when I was told what she was involved in, I said, yep, that looks like it is something for me. It is something for me because when we talk about crime, when we talk about children finding their place in this world, when we talk about giving a sense of purpose, we must talk about whether we're giving them the tools to do that. We can give them the tools to do that if they see contemporary people. I'm not talking about the history books are really nice, and we can do that later on. But when they see contemporary people, they get a chance to see what's happening around them and then relate to it. Marsha Riley, you are into children books and a lot of other things, but let us right now just talk. Let's talk and welcome the momtrepreneur.
Thank you very much for having me, and I must say I thoroughly enjoyed listening to Rhoda and Hal Graves on my way here.
Oh, good.
And let me clear up the headphones issue. It is not about the hair, but they never fit on my head. They fall off. They always fall off. Look.
That is the poorest excuse because you're supposed to put them on top of the head. You know, you were doing really good until you decided to justify it. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about your momtrepreneur is how you describe yourself. Explain that word. It seems self-explanatory, but go ahead. Momtrepreneur, tell me about that.
Well, I'm a business person who's also a mom. And it's kind of like, which one is your full-time job? Being a mom is in itself a full-time job. And I think earning income somehow takes a backseat. So that's where I came up with momtrepreneur. It's kind of like play on the mom and pop shops.
Yeah, I like the amalgam. Really nice.
Yeah, well, thank you. Can I copyright it? I don't think I came up with it. I'm sure it's been used, a long time ago.
But if nobody's copyrighted it
Well,
yet,
good
you have
point.
an edge.
Very
Jump
good
in there.
point.
Jump
Yes,
in there.
Okay, I'm
Nothing
gonna
new
copyright
under
it.
the sun but the sun.
Right?
You got a
All
6-year-old daughter.
I do.
What role did she play rearing her in what you do? But before you tell me about her role in this, exactly what are you doing? I said you're an author. Yes, you are, because I can see that. Tell us about that.
Okay, well, being an author is sort of like 3rd, 4th, 5th down the line because, someone once very recently said, instead of asking a child what you want to do, ask a child what problem they want to solve. Because then you'll get to what they need to do.
Right.
And being an author came as a result of a problem that I wanted to solve. Which, it's I was sort of like, can he just get me into that conversation? Can he get me into that conversation? Because it really spoke to me what you guys were talking about. Because, of course, I work, if you go on my website, you'll see that I work very closely with a lot of the girls from Laventille. But I work in primary schools. Because for me, I think that the earlier we get them, in the greater the chance to pull them away from that cycle. I have grown up, I would not even begin to say that I've grown up with some of the things that they go through. But I'm one of your rags to riches stories, where parents got divorced, you move into what would be considered an at-risk community, and growing up with, I've had a drug addict as a roommate, as a housemate, And for me, I wanted to say, I've shouted it, I've cried it, I've said it so many times to so many children, so many adults that, it does not matter, you can succeed. It doesn't matter what you've gone through, you can succeed. And I just kind of got fed up of saying it so many times to one. And I figured, look, let me try to somehow say this on a bigger scale and maybe get, because it's always going to be 1 out of 10. So hopefully if I get to 100, then I'll get to 10. If I get to 1,000, I'll get to 100. And it was really that's what propelled the whole writing a book. And, what is the way? How can we reach them? And I looked around and I didn't really think that they had anything interesting. I am one of those that I hate to read. I find everything's boring. I'm not one of your best students. And so for me, it was how am I going to catch the attention of the children for them to even listen.
But that makes you better poised. If you're not into reading and if you have really short attention spans, if you figured it out, then it means that you have techniques to apply.
Absolutely. I mean, my little brother, who's 25 years old, I remember I dropped off the book for him, fresh off the press, because I'm always giving him stuff to read and he won't read it. Just like me, it's like, this is boring to sit down and read through it, and he posted on Facebook, guys, you need to get this book because I read it in 5 minutes. It's easy reading, but the content in it, it's still mind-blowing.
This book we're talking about is If I Can, You Can Too.
Yes.
And just one
which
folks
I think
to know
I've
that.
said 1,000 times in my lifetime.
As we get on to the detail of that, I just want folks to have the opportunity to write down, give them the website where they can go and they can take a look at this and order this first of all. Let's just do that part.
Sure, no problem. Well, the websites are kind of a weird name because for some strange reason, I have not been able to purchase a domain. We won't get down that road about, international and us local people and our credit cards and whatnot.
But it's clever because you're making sense with it.
It is, yes. But you can definitely find me on Facebook, Marsha Riley. The publishing name is Make Sense to Me, but it's not CENSE, it's CENTS. Look for Marsha Riley, you'd find me, and that of course takes you to all the different links.
But I found that so unique and so smart because you said first of all you're a mom-entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And when instead of going
and
you decide to put the sense inside of it,
Yes.
CENTS.
Yes.
So it kind of works right. Okay, you all got the website right? Okay, it's makesense.com. You got that? Good.
Make Sense to Me.
Make sense to me. Make sense to me.
WIX. .com. I don't even know it. But if you type in Make Sense to Me,
yes, it'll come up.
and then / if I can, you can too, it'll come up.
Okay.
I don't know what the whole Wix, because it's Wix is the domain holder. Or
I see.
if it's one thing I'm not good at is the technology side.
But you're really good at putting together a very good book. Tell me how long it took you to come to first of all compile this and some of the people in it that you decided to feature.
So this project has been in the making for the last, I would say, 3 years. The book came about. It took about 6 months to do the actual book, but the project started off with a seminar. Again, listening to what you guys were speaking about. For me, I felt like we needed to reach the parents because the worst thing to do is to inspire a child, set them on fire, and then send them home, and somebody's just watering it down all the time. And so for me, the first thing was the parents. But what I've quickly learned, there's a thing called the best-selling book. It's not the best written book. And I had to take a step back and say, look, my passion is one thing, but what's going to get me out there?
Yes.
And parents don't want to be lectured to, one. They are not necessarily inclined to sit in a workshop, two. And sponsors would rather something that, like a children's book, something that they could hold on to and whatnot. And so I guess, again, coming back to that mom-entrepreneur, because talent is one thing, passion is another. But we need to bring business into every single thing that we do. It must be done with a sense of business. And so the lead became the children's book because it was the most sellable factor. And I mean, I must say that it was genius. It was not my idea to sell with the book. I'm a sponge. I ask questions. I ask 1,001 different people. I'm happy to listen to advice as to what they think would be the best. And the children's book was the one that everybody went, that's the lead, that's the lead, that's the lead. And you know what? If you want, you could go and preach to parents for free after, but you have to lead with something that's sellable.
Let something let you inside.
Yes,
inside
and so the
door.
book was the sellable part. I have a bank full of various people that I interviewed. So I was just interviewing. You tell me, look, this person has a good story. I'm gonna go interview them. I make no promises that they're gonna end up in any of my books. But one, I could use them when I speak at schools. I can use their stories. You could use the stories one-on-one. If I'm mentoring a child and she says XYZ, I could say, do you know? And I could, pull from some of the stories from the interviews that I've had. And then, of course, now you say, okay, look, for the book, how can we put a female, a male, ethnic diversity, who's relevant? Because you spoke about being relevant. It has to be people that at least, they look at the book and they go, okay, I want to read it. It's not old people, and I say that in quotation marks.
Because it's not disparaging. It's that sort of separation people do. Yes,
it's whether it's right or wrong. You have to sell it to the young people, and so you have to take yourself out and see what they're thinking.
It is 9 minutes away from the top of the hour. We're having brunch. You're going to extend this for about another 10 minutes beyond the 12 o'clock, because I guess not only is she a threat to the Energizer Bunny, she covers some subjects in this book and some people. I saw you looking at it, Rhoda, and smiling when you got to a particular page. Who were you looking at?
The page on mailing. I thought it spanned a really nice cross-section of people. That's what I was looking at, really. I wanted to get a sense of who you were looking at, and you looked at people from all of the various communities that have made up the space ethnically. You've looked at different age groups as well, because you have some older accomplished people and younger accomplished people, and in various disciplines, sports, fashion, business, etc., etc. And I think that's great. Do you have plans for another book?
Absolutely. What I want to do is release a single, because this one has 4. I want to release a single book so that it can be within, in terms of like a price range. I mean, of course, unless someone comes and sponsors, then I could release more, with more people and whatnot. But the next plan is to release a single. I do want to release, I have a lot of people. I'm still interviewing more people. And so for me, it is going to be a constant release. My vision is 5-10 years. The book is going to be constantly, releasing new people. As new people, we have Olympics this year. Somebody's gonna win another gold medal, and somebody's gonna have another great story. I'm gonna interview them. I've reached out to a lot of Paralympics, para athletes, because they have another story, and so Trinidad's talent and our people is so much richer than even our oil. And for me, I want to celebrate them. I think there's a big miss somewhere, gap in patriotism, because if we can own our country and if we could be proud of our country, I heard you guys talk about Laventille and really not appreciating what Laventille has done. And when there's that appreciation and there's that sense of history and roots, you can be proud. You can hold on to, this is what I come from. I spoke with some, one of the young ladies from Black Caucus movement, and she spoke about, holding on to probably getting back people from Laventille who can be proud. And it took me a lot of years to hold my head up and say, well, this is where I've come from and this is what I've accomplished. But for a long time, you sort of hide where you've come from. You don't put your address because it mightn't necessarily get you the job.
Because of stigmas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But those stigmas are not helping.
No.
Because when we look around, we need the big businessmen who have been successful to stand up and say, you know what? This is where I came from, and they need to embrace where they came from.
We also need
so
business.
young men can embrace it.
We also need businesses to point out that some of their staff that have made them successful, that's where they're coming from as well.
Absolutely. We spoke about, I took so many different notes when you guys were talking, because, you guys spoke about media. Mr. Graves said that in the media, unfortunately, all we're getting is the negatives. But there's so much positivity, and there must be a plea to the media to say, listen, we need to start to really highlight this as positive. I believe in what you focus on is what's going to manifest. And if we keep focusing on all this gang violence, that's what's going to manifest. But we need to give the children something more than gang violence.
Mom-entrepreneur and advocate Marsha Riley is our guest this morning on Brunch. We're talking about the book, If I Can, You Can.